Hey, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking, of course, about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. What else are we talking about on this fine Sunday that I'm recording this video? But before we get into anything, if you enjoy RPG content, Nintendo news, and more, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. And in this video, I wanted to go over a couple different things with the recent reveal and the release date of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Answer a few questions, talk about a few different things with the game, and kind of clear up some of my thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and jump right into this with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and we're first going to be talking about the sales numbers of it. This is a question that I haven't talked about yet as of lately, and how is the game going to do sales-wise? Well, let's break down some of the other games first, then we can get into exactly where I can put my sales predictions. Now, when it comes to the OJ or PlayerEssence streak, I've been on a roll when it comes to RPGs, and I also stated that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 would easily sell better than Xenoblade Chronicles 1, a million units that are roughly tracked with it, and we got that there. So that's where we're going to leave off right now, guys, with Xenoblade Chronicles 1. That game selling about 1 million copies, especially when you total up everything, and of course, if you add in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, over 2 million copies sold, maybe even nearing 3 million with every version of Xenoblade Chronicles 1 out there. The Definitive Edition sold more than 1.5 million units on the Nintendo Switch alone. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sold 2 million plus units on the Nintendo Switch by itself, so that's really good. The franchise is showing an escalating up when it comes to sales, not down or de-escalating. Things are going up when it comes to Xenoblade. Well, I will say this though, Xenoblade has had the benefit, with the exception of the Wii U, on launching of two of Nintendo's most successful systems of all time, with the Nintendo Wii and also with the Nintendo Switch. So things have been fairly good for Xenoblade in the past few generations, but I think that with this game and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, it's easily going to be a knockout when it comes to the sales compared to the first two games. It is going to be a million plus improvement over what we saw, because I am seeing a number of different things with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that's easily going to attract more people. And let's start with the base level of how you even equate all this. Install base. Install base is such an important factor alongside franchise popularity and what the game can do. Now, if you look at the install base, obviously a lot higher than when Xenoblade Chronicles released, and even higher than when the Xenoblade game on the Wii came out as well, with now Nintendo having well over 100 million units sold so far, and the game's coming out sooner than expected, so in July. So the sales numbers here and the install base should be fairly strong starting out. But the fact that the Nintendo Switch has a very dedicated and strong install base is definitely one of the huge factors why Xenoblade Chronicles 3 should be the best selling Monolith Soft game of all time, surpassing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and of course the best selling Xenoblade game as well with that. So the install base is very strong. Now let's talk about the franchise popularity and what you want to see, especially when it comes to some of these newer end games for Nintendo. So Xenoblade is a franchise that's in the modern era of Nintendo. It's not in the past era, so we're not talking like the Super Pass, like the Nintendo, or like the N64, Super Nintendo, GameCube. We're talking more of the modern end era, right, with the Wii, the Wii U, then also Nintendo Switch, 3DS, so stuff like that. So the second half, the back half here when it comes down to it. So I think that with that being said, the fact that it's already been able to escalate its sales past the 2 million mark in really its third entry is really good. And we're talking Xenoblade Chronicles 1 over 1 million. And the fact that we don't have full sales numbers with Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I would guess that that game is right around 1 million units on the failed Wii U when it comes to install base. That was terrible. That game actually had a really good ratio for an RPG on that system. So that was pretty good. So I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing. The system just did bad, but the game sold well, and that instantly got them working on Xenoblade Chronicles 2, albeit a smaller end team, not the full Takahashi Team 1, about 40 people or so, but they were able to do a fantastic job with the game. So the franchise's popularity even jumped up more, leading into more popularity with Pyra and Mithra being included into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Nintendo Switch. Now, with all of that momentum of millions of sales that they've done, Also, with the re-release of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition as well, I think that now is the time that we really see the breakout 3 million plus more of the major line franchise for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I think that Fire Emblem, if you compare it, and I think this is the reason why I was very kind of like high on Xenoblade and what it was doing and the growth that it's had, look at Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem took so much longer for that franchise to break through to the 2 million range and the 3 million range. And look how much longer Fire Emblem's been out. It's really impressive to see that Xenoblade was able to break 2 million in its third full release in the franchise. And now I think with all of the momentum that we've been talking about here, I think that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to be a 3 million plus seller on the minimum side. So on the minimum side, on the maximum, if this game reviews as good as Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and people really get into it that way and it has that amount of content to keep people engaged for years down the line, like the first game and the second game and the third game they've had, I think that it could max out at like 5 million or so. It could end up turning into that. And if it does, that will be a life-changing thing for Monolith Soft fans and Monolith Soft themselves, because that's going to give them even more money and even more confidence and even more, I would just say, power to be able to get the type of projects that they want to get done. Get that money, get that flow coming in there, be able to keep on hiring. You've got to have great sales of your games if you want to see those sales continue, if you want to see those games continue. And I think that this game can be that breakthrough game for them, to where it kind of turns into not necessarily like Fire Emblem, but almost a sure bet like Fire Emblem. Maybe not as frequent with the games, but more of a sure bet that there's always going to be that Fire Emblem. There's always going to be that new character. There's always going to be that something like in Smash, right? And I think that if Xenoblade was able to break to the 3 to 5 million unit range, more of like the 4 or 5 million unit range, that could really turn things around quite a bit. Although Nintendo's been very good with Monolith Soft and also with Xenoblade. They've greenlit a lot of stuff despite not selling as much as Mario or Zelda, whatever the case is. So they have confidence in this team. They have confidence in what it represents. So I'm very excited to kind of see more and where it goes with the sales of it. But that would be my estimate on it. Now, once again, this is variable. Things can change. It just depends. But if this game is like a 90 plus rated, oh, then absolutely. Like, there's definitely going to be some changes, and it's going to sell extremely well, whether it's that or not. But obviously, the better review scores always help. It always helps to have those really good review scores, but it'll be tough because it is more of that complex RPG. It's not necessarily the mainstream like the Final Fantasy or something like that. So it's harder for those type of games, but I think that the core gamers that love that get to review these games, I think that they're going to review it very favorably this time around, considering everything that's going on in this game. And from the gameplay clips and all that, looks like the technical issues are just so much more clean with this one, which doesn't surprise me, considering Xenoblade X was a very clean game when it came to how it ran and everything on the Wii U. So that was Wii U. Now you have the Nintendo Switch, much more powerful system, so you're able to get a lot more done within that engine that they've been retooling and working on for the number of years since Xenoblade Chronicles X, and have been improving. Obviously, the last we saw of it was Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn of the Golden Country. It looked good there, and they've improved it even more over the course of that game, which that game came out back in 2018, so it's been a number of years now. So I knew when we saw Xenoblade Chronicles 3 that it was going to be a very impressive game. And what they do with the gimmicks, they always change that classic Xenoblade gimmick, seeing the future, being able to have a mech, having blades, being able to switch between them. I mean, there's always something. And now we have the new Ouroboros type of transformations that really come into question what's going on, how did they do this, how does this work, and everything. So all of that's going to play into the sales and play a part into making this franchise be bigger, and probably getting the next Smash Brothers game to have maybe another Xenoblade character or so. So I'm very excited to see exactly how this game does and everything. Now, I do want to talk briefly about a couple other things with the trailer. Some people have talked about it on Twitter, and I've seen some other things as well with some of the gameplay in there. And once again, I talked about this in my previous video, open world, it could be that. Also, there could be some new skills when it comes to movement options in the game. It looks like Noah might be dodging just a little bit. There's a bit of a slowdown too, maybe like when you switch targets and things like that. And it does seem, once again, not even seem, it is that auto battling is back in with skills being in there. And on top of that, it does seem like you won't be able to move and attack at the same time, but we don't know if that's an option. We don't know if that's exactly the case. We have to see what modifiers, what gameplay systems, what they actually put into there, and how it actually works within the battle system. Because some people on my live stream were saying, no, it has to be this or it has to be that. And I'm thinking, well, let's just wait. Let's just wait till we actually see more and know the mechanics of it, because Torna doesn't have moving and attacking, and Torna's battle system to me is the best battle system out of all of the Xenoblade games. Maybe some of you guys disagree, but me, I feel it's the best one. I feel that it's the most in-depth, yet also the simplest to kind of grasp and get a hold of and to have fun in. So I think that we're gonna have to just wait and see on it, but I'm very excited once again to see what's going down with the combat and everything. And man, the fact that it's coming out July 29th is even better, because it's going to be here before we even know it. So what are your thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the reveal trailer, the release date, everything so far that we've seen on the game? What are your comments on the battles and kind of what they're doing with the game? The music already sounds like it's going to be incredible. The story sounds like it's going to be awesome as well. The hook and the mechanics. This is going to be the Xenoblade game that really breaks through sales-wise, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this one here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you're someone new. Click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.